Hi everybody, this is Miss Karen Smith and we're going to talk about Roman numerals. So a numeral is basically a picture or a symbol that represents some quantity or some number. Okay, and look, I'll use a tally system just to kind of illustrate, okay? And so you're all familiar with, or you should be familiar with, the Hindu Arabic system. If we would tally something up and maybe we had 1, 2, or let's say this many, right? There's one item we're counting for each of the slash marks. Everyone knows this as 4, the Hindu Arabic numeral standing for 4 items. The quantity 4 is the numeral 4 in the Hindu Arabic. And of course, most of you do know the Roman numeral 4. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Okay, and so what we're talking about today is the idea of Roman numerals. So these are numerals, and so just by default you can get the idea of what numbers are. Numbers are the actual quantities that are represented by the numerals. So we'll say that numbers are quantities or amounts. Now, since the dawn of time, there were many numeration systems or symbols from different cultures that represented different amounts. Okay, but we're going to focus here on the Roman numeral system. And here on the screen, what you're seeing are your basic Roman numerals. Now, let's compare them to the Hindu Arabic numerals that most of you have grown up with. Now, you'll notice one thing right up front. The Roman numerals lack a symbol for 0. That's because they didn't really quite grasp 0 as far as counting goes. And neither do we. We count from 1 as well. We use the natural numbers to count. And so, but we grasp the quantity 0 as being nothing. So, very different concepts there. So, notice that there was no 0 in the Roman numerals. Okay, so that's one thing to notice. Okay, you'll never have that. So also, when we learn the basic Roman numeral symbol system rules, you're going to also notice that we don't have place value. There's no place value in Roman numerals like we do in the Hindu Arabic. In other words, the V that represents 5 will always represent 5, the quantity 5. It's obvious that the numbers 51 and 15, if we would kind of just, if we didn't know any better and we wrote a V and then a 1, well, we know that the the 5 and the 1 in the Roman numeral is equal to the number 6. And then the IV, if I wrote a 1 and then a 5, which is 15 in the Arabic numerals, 1, 5, right, in Roman numerals would be the number 4. Vastly different. So you can see that we have, in the Hindu Arabic, we have place value system, where we have the ones place, then the tens place, hundreds, etc., etc. So, since we have no place values for the Roman numerals, we have to have a certain set of rules that will govern the way we create the numbers in Roman numeral system. Let's have a look at the first 2 rules. Rule 1, okay, a letter can only be repeated 3 times. Let's look at just the number 3, okay? What I'm going to do is, I'll go ahead and count. Let's do 1 through 3. We'll build the numbers, okay? 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and here on the left, I'll make a column of Roman numerals, okay? Roman. Okay, we know that I is 1. 2 is 2 ones, or 2 I's. This is actually 1 plus 1, right? And then we have 3. And by the time they hit 3 in a row, someone there decided that that's just too many of the same thing, so we have to break it up a little, right? Kidding. So then we get into the idea of whether we add or subtract after that, okay? Also, you can see that 3x is 10, and so we'd have 10 plus 10 plus 10. Of course, as I said before, 3 ones would be 1 plus 1 plus 1. Okay, let's move right along. In part 2 here, if one or more letters are placed after another letter of greater value, so in other words, if the smaller letter comes second. For example, if I have X, I, okay, X and then I, what's that? That's 10 plus 1. We're going to add them together, see? So if it goes from larger to smaller, right? Okay, we add them. Okay, that's rule 2. And you guys are familiar with this. Again, if I have V and then 2 I's, a V and so I have a 5 and a 2, right? So that's 5 plus 2, or 7. Okay, then we add them in that case, okay? Now, 3. Okay, if a letter is placed before a letter of greater value, so if we have a smaller number in front of a larger number, we'll subtract. And again, you're all familiar with the number 4, right? It's the I and then the V. Okay, so that's like the 1 and then the 5, right? What they're saying is take 1 from 5, or 1 less than 5, or 5 minus 1. So that's how that becomes 4. Okay? Now, let's dig deeper into this rule, because there are a couple of other rules that will apply for subtracting amounts from Roman numerals. Now, here are those rules, those little extra rules for subtracting amounts from Roman numerals. First of all, only subtract powers of 10. Okay, in other words, you can subtract the 1, the 10, or the 100. Okay, not V or L, right? Or rather, I should say, but not 5 or 50. Okay, so not 5 or 50, V and L. Okay, let's take a look. Now, I'm using some numbers that are probably a little larger than you're going to have to be responsible for. Mainly, you guys will have to understand the 1 through 20, definitely. But these are, for example, just to show you these rules. For 95, do not write VC, right? Do not put a 5 and then a 100, thinking you're going to have, what, 100 minus 5, right? So we do not want to subtract the 5, right? That's not legal to do. Only powers of 10. So we would build it, right? 10, okay? Then we do a larger number, C, okay? And then 5. So what is this? You'll notice that 10 and then C, 10 from 100, okay? And then plus 5. So we'll have 10 from 100, that's 90 plus 5, okay? So you can, it's possible to build these, you just have to be very careful, okay? And then only subtract one number from another. You can't have something like this where there's 2 subtracted from 10. That's not going to work, okay? And so we're going to have to do this for the number 13. We're going to build it, right? Because we can have 3 items, right? We can have 3 letters in a row. So we start with 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay? So subtract only one of the numbers from another. And those numbers that you're subtracting can only be powers of 10. And so, like I said, I, X, and C are the legal things you can subtract. C. Do not subtract a number from one that is more than 10 times greater. In other words, this is a base 10 system, right? A base 10 system. In other words, this counting system is based on powers of 10. Okay? So you'll notice, and in a little bit I'm going to show you this big list of these, of numbers from 1 through almost 1,000, I believe. But you'll see that there's a similar pattern going on within the 1 through 10, and then between 10 and 100 till you get to C, right? Then from C to 1,000, okay, etc., etc. You're going to see a similar pattern of building the numbers form. And I'll show you that in a minute. But let's take a look. For 99, you're not going to write IC, okay? But you would write this. You would write the 10, what? Then the 100, right? That's 10 from 100. That's your 90. And then, of course, the 1 from the 9. So you'll add to that 9. There's your 99, guys. So we're only subtracting one at a time, okay? All right? All right. A bar placed on top of a letter or string of letters increases whatever that numeral's value is by 1,000 times. So let's take a look. Right here, without the bar, we have 5. Okay? Let's kind of look at this. This is 5. With a bar on top, this will be what? This would be 5 times 1,000. So a V with a bar on top is actually not just 5, but it's 5,000. So there's our method to build up to even larger numbers than we see. And now you can see with just these 4 rules, we can build way up into millions. I mean, really, this is not a bad little numeration system at all. Okay, and let me fix this here. Okay, so one more. Let's have maybe let's see, let's take one we've seen already. So let's take the symbol that we have for 13. So we're going to write XIII, right? Okay, so we'll have X I. So what is this? It's 13, correct? Okay. So without the bar, it's just 13. And so with a bar, let's add our bar on top, okay? Bar separate from the numbers. So then with the bar, it's times 1,000. So this makes this 13,000. Okay. Simple as that. The bar is times 1,000. Okay. So here I have just a list of the Roman numerals, once again, from 1 to 20. And just notice that there's this pattern of the first 3 units repeated. And then we do a subtract 1, right? This from that. And then we do an add thing. Okay, now when you get to 10, you're doing a similar thing too. Okay, of course, 11 would be XI. Now this doesn't have all of them, but this has most of the important ones. Let's build the ones that are missing there between 10 and 20. Okay, so between 10 and 14, it looks like we're missing 11, 12, 13. Okay, we have 14, 15, so we'll need 16, 17, and 18. Let's build those. So 11 would be a 10 plus 1, XI. Again, 12 would be XII, right? 10 plus 2. 13 would be 3 I's. And then once we have 3 symbols repeated, that's enough of that, right? That's when we go to 14 and we have our X, and then take in 1 from 5. Then X, then we have 10 plus 5. Okay, that's here. Now to 16. Okay, on 16 we're going to add 1 to 15. XVI. Okay, you seeing a pattern yet? I hope you do. 17 XVII, right? That's 10 plus 7. And of course, 18 will have 3 in a row, right? XV and 3 ones, right? All right, and that's when we would go to 19. As we saw earlier, 19 is X1X, or XIX. Now, here are other Roman numerals. Okay. So notice every time you have these multiples, the third in the 10, in the power of 10, like the 30 or the 300 or the 3,000, you're going to have the 3 in a row. For example, here 3,000 would be MMM, right? Okay, and so on and so forth. And so that is the basic idea behind writing and reading Roman numerals. Okie doke. I hope this has been helpful. Please practice the exercises that are given to you on our site. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact Miss Karen, okay? And contact information is in the syllabus, and I've probably given to you that information a few times by now. Okay, I'll talk to you all soon. See ya. Have a great day.